Item: SCP-912. Object Class: Safe. Special Containment Procedures: SCP-912 is to be kept at Research Unit in a standard containment cell. The cell door must have a damage resistance rating of 3A or above. Direct physical handling of SCP-912 causes a potentially dangerous reaction and should be avoided except as part of an authorized testing protocol. All researchers involved in SCP-912 must receive briefing SCP-912-002-A. Safe handling of SCP-912 inches, and SCP-912-002-B. Dealing with arrest behavior by SCP-912. In the event of arrest by SCP-912, researchers are to offer minimal resistance and await rescue by an associate wearing the uniform of the PD. Experiments that involve the use of firearms or the CQ firing range require authorization from doctor at least 24 hours in advance in order to permit route clearance and schedule deconfliction. Description: SCP-912 consists of several items of police-issue body armor, clothing and equipment that together form a discrete entity capable of independent movement and action. Both the method by which this ability has been acquired and means by which it is achieved have yet to be identified. The elements that comprise SCP-912 conform to the standards of uniform worn by the PD SWAT as of 20, the approximate date of acquisition. Uniform elements float in mid-air as though worn by a man or woman around 185 centimeters, 6 feet 1 in height, but no such presence can be detected. SCP-912 does not directly respond to communication attempts, but will follow simple orders in English given by personnel wearing the uniform of an officer of the PD. SCP-912 consists of the following. 1 dark gray PD ballistic helmet with transparent face protecting visor. 1 black Nomex registered sign. Tactical balaclava from unknown manufacturer. 1 set navy blue PD tactical body armor from Armor Limited. SWAT insignia printed upon front and back. Includes several ammo grenade storage pouches, all apparently empty, though SCP-912 resists inspection. 1 pouch contains plastic cuff restraints. Supply seems to remain constant regardless of arrests made. 1 pair of black knee pads from Armor Limited. 1 pair of black elbow pads from Armor Limited. 1 pair of steel toe-capped combat boots from unknown manufacturer. 1 pair of black combat gloves by Armor Limited. Closed and fastened pistol holster suitable for a mid-sized sidearm from unknown manufacturer. 153 centimeters, 21 in. Telescopic steel baton. Handle is apparently made from hardened plastic with a textured grip. In its default state, SCP-912 has been assessed to pose no hazard to health, security or risk of escape when handled in accordance with SCP-912-002-A and SCP-912-002-B. If given the command arrest, subject, by a person wearing the uniform of the PD, or in the event that SCP-912 detects an armed individual or individuals within its visual radius, it will commence arrest behavior. SCP-912 will attempt to disarm and restrain the subject upon the ground, then secure their arms behind their back using a pair of plastic cuffs. The force used in the process of this arrest greatly exceeds PD SWAT guidelines and statutory procedures. SCP-912 frequently inflicts injury to the neck, shoulder and arms of the arrested individual due to apparent unawareness or indifference to the mechanical limitations of human anatomy. Resistance on the behalf of the individual being arrested causes a corresponding increase in force until cessation. SCP-912 will attack should it detect threatening or hostile behavior towards itself or an individual wearing the uniform of the PD. SCP-912 deploys its telescopic steel baton and approaches the nearest armed subject at an average speed of 5 km per hour. If the armed subject drops the weapon and ceases threatening behavior before SCP-912 moves into combat range, the normal arrest procedure will be initiated. If the subject initiates hostile action or is still holding the weapon when SCP-912 enters combat range, SCP-912 will strike powerful blows at the head and upper arms of the subject for up to a minute after the subject loses consciousness. Once all armed subjects are subdued, arrest behavior proceeds as normal. SCP-912 considers the following to be weapons and will initiate attack behavior upon sight. Firearms. Bladed weapons, including kitchen knives longer than 10 centimeters, 4 in length. Batons. Clubs and similar blunt instruments. Tasers and pepper spray. Redacted. And joy buzzers. SCP-912 will initiate attack behavior when the following are used in a threatening manner. Power and hand tools. Knotted rope. Lengths of chain. Brass knuckles. Sports equipment. For example, baseball bat, golf club, clipboard. SCP-912 only permits an individual it has arrested to be removed from its presence by a person wearing the uniform of the PD. An individual wearing the appropriate uniform is not detained by SCP-912 regardless of armament, except where physical aggression is shown towards another subject wearing PD uniform. SCP-912 does not react to hostile actions by PD-uniformed personnel towards non-uniformed victims and does not react to hostile actions between unarmed individuals not wearing PD uniform, regardless of injuries sustained.